Hey everybody, it's Trags back here at TD Garden on the Boston Bruins bench following a 5-1 Game 1 win, joined by Jimmy Murphy. Murph, as we look ahead to game number 2 on Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, everybody's going to be pumped up north of the border to try and draw even in this series. What do the Bruins have to do to continue their power play performance in game number 1 in which they scored 3 goals?
Well, I think that first they have to hope that the Leafs play as stupid as they did in Game 1 and
Pretty dumb.
and make some undisciplined plays. But besides that, they have to draw those penalties themselves, and they have to stick within their game, don't get rattled at all, and just continue to stick to that game plan that Cassidy puts in front of them. Because, look, I was critical of the game plan coming in. I thought it was crazy that he sat Ryan Donato, but you know what? I'll eat crow right now. It worked, and Ryan Donato would have been great on that power play, but the power play was good enough without him. So I think if they can keep that going, that will be a major difference in Game 2.
I thought also the power play, if it's going to be that good the way it was here on Thursday night, you've got to have depth on the power play.
You do, and I think that's one thing that the Bruins have both at the forward position and the defensive position. You look at Charlie McAvoy, you look at Torrey Krug, who's an assist machine this year. I think he tied Ray Bourque for most assists in three consecutive seasons, 40+. And you look at, of course, Matt Grzelcyk as well. They've got so many weapons at the blue line, and then you go down low and forget about it. I mean, they're almost 2 lines, if not 3 lines deep on the power play. And now Rick Nash as well is a tree chunk. He was, and he drew some penalties as well. So, and David Backes, let's not forget him too. He was great in front of the net. So keep that net front presence going, cycle the puck back to the blue line, and just keep doing what you did in Game 1.
All right, there were 2 key moments on the specialty teams that I thought really helped them win Game 1. They weren't power plays, they were penalty kills. The 2 penalty kills of the second period that kept this game 1-1. Tuukka Rask was great. I'm going to ask you about 2 things. First of all, what stood out to you about the penalty kills, and what about Tuukka Rask going into Game 2?
Well, you know what? With the penalty kills, I think this has always been kind of the Bruins' bread and butter over the years, right? I mean, at least as far as the last 10 to 15 years go, it's a power play we didn't see coming. But the penalty kill, what they do is they just attack. They're not afraid to come up and come up right in front of the forwards and put the pressure on, even though they know there could be a breakaway the other way, but they're confident in their speed that they can do this. So just keep doing what you're doing out there. And as far as Tuukka Rask goes, I think he was their best penalty killer. You know, he's not going to get a lot of credit in a 5-1 game and with only 26 shots on net, but he did make 25 saves. And I think there was a couple times there early in the first period where Toronto came out, started to get their momentum going, and Tuukka shut the door. And, you know, you don't notice that as much, like I said, in a 5-1 win, but I think he deserves some credit there. And you can bet that Toronto's going to put a lot of pressure on from the get-go in Game 2 as they try to even this series. We're going to need Tuukka Rask to be the man.
Bruce Cassidy said that a couple of bounces here and there, and it would have been a different story in front of Tuukka Rask. He said, look, we really put away our chances. They didn't. That was the difference in the game.
It is, and, you know, it's interesting. I heard Pierre McGuire talking about that after the Pittsburgh-Philly game where Philly lost 7-0. But there were so many points in that game, if you really watched it, where you're like, this isn't really a 7-0 game. It's just Pittsburgh capitalizing. We all know the Penguins can do that. They're 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs. But that's exactly what the Bruins are doing right now. They're looking for the chances, they're getting them, and they're burying them, and that was a difference.
5-1, the Bruins wrap it up here with a win in game number 1. Game number 2 could be a much different story as the Toronto Maple Leafs might be a little bit more desperate to try and even this series, heading it back up north for games 3 and 4. He's Jimmy Murphy. I'm Mike Petralia, CLNS Media.